Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Success Series. I am your host, David Berg. Really excited to be back here with Erin Fetherston. We've had her on once before, for those of you that are watching, but we're going to explore different topics today. We'll again revisit all about her amazing story, but get deeper into life and why we chase certain things and pursue certain aspects of life. And so, Erin, it's great to be here with you here today. If you could share a little bit with our listeners who you are and why you're excited to be here.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me again. It's so fun to be here with you. I professionally, I think people know me as a designer. I had my start in fashion. I had a women's wear brand called Erin Fetherston that I started in my young 20s. I started it in Paris, and then I eventually moved to New York, where I showed in New York Fashion Week for over a decade and really built it to something that I would say really exceeded my dreams. And then I have, now it's been a couple of years now, but I have evolved into doing interior design for homes, which is where my focus is now. I became a mother along the way, which sort of prompted that evolution because it's a little more aligned with my life now as a mom of 3 young boys. And I love doing interior design. I do mostly residential homes, and that's me.
Love it. It's ironic. We had you on exactly almost 1 year ago from today. It was August of last year. And so I'm sure a ton has happened in your life since then. What are some of the milestones or highlights over the last year?
Well, professionally, I've just been growing in my own career. So it's just been really exciting because I think when you do interior design, it's very much project to project. And these projects can take a long time to come to fruition. But, just seeing myself grow with experience, growing my knowledge base and my confidence and references is just great to feel yourself like growing into what you love to do. Being able to take on larger projects, higher pressure projects, being able to collaborate with really A-talent people, I think that has been something that's really revealed itself to me in the last 12 months as I've been able to work on projects with really high caliber talent where I'm just one person on a team of really incredible architects, builders, landscape architects. So bringing my own perspective onto a team where everybody is an A player is really exciting for me personally because I just feel like, whatever you're bringing is going to be amplified by everyone else on the team because, we all have our specialization, but in the end, it's always like part of a bigger whole.
Right. And you mentioned team. It's something that I often think about in many conversations with people. I think it's one of the hardest things to do, to build like a really great team around you. What have you noticed, one, with yourself and your ability to attract the right people, and then also keep them excited about the mission and what you're building?
Well, in this case, I didn't build this team. I brought onto a team that is a client-driven project.
Sure.
And so I get to be on their team. And it's interesting. It's something that I spend most of my life actually trying to build my own teams.
Right.
And this is actually the first time that I really feel like, I got drafted onto an A team. And so instead of trying to build an A team from scratch, which is really hard, especially if you're up and coming and you may not have A team resources.
Right.
That was a struggle that I danced with in all the years I was doing fashion. It was just an upstart. And so it's hard to attract A-level talent. You have to sort of evolve together to be like an A team stuff.
Totally.
But this is different because I feel like I got drafted onto
You're not the head coach. You're
the So it's a new experience for me. So I'm not the mastermind of it. I'm playing a role on it, and actually I'm seeing this is a refreshing experience for me because I have so much respect for all the other people, and I'm like, wow, you have to be so brilliant to be them. Or I really seeing the depth of knowledge and some of the people I'm working with, it's like they have a 40, 50 year career under their belt. So of course they know so much about topics that I may not know much about. So it's like humbling and exciting.
Totally. And then because I'm thinking when we work with our customers and when you work on a project or a given customer's request, how do you balance you as the expert really seeing the vision for the design and how you want it to manifest versus the feedback the client is giving you, where sometimes it might be counterintuitive or really, rejecting each other?
I think that's a great question, and I think there's sort of affinity of form, at least in my personal experience.
Right.
It's not always going to be like this, but I think in the nature of what I'm doing, which is creative, which is design, the chances are I'm going to attract someone we're going to have a similar point of view.
Sure.
Right? Because my point of view and taste is established, and that's going to either resonate with them or not. So already the match is going to be made in a resonance of like affinity of form. And then of course, it's more understanding, I think when it comes to understanding like the needs of a client and how to adapt your vision for their needs, it's like so layered. Like it's so much more than design work.
Right.
I feel like I use my intuition, I use my emotional intelligence. You have to use like all kinds of levels of listening skills. You have to perceive like family dynamics, or that's relevant to a residential home.
Sure.
But understanding, like, I don't know, I feel like I need to see everyone. I want to know the kids. I want to know how old they are.
Wow.
I want to know
and all this comes
dynamics.
into the fix. Yeah.
Well, sure, of course, because sometimes, like, if you're building a house from scratch, that could take several years.
Right.
So you might have a 1-year-old baby, but like by the time you're in that house, you're gonna have a 4-year-old. And if you're a first-time mom, you might not really know what that looks like.
Right.
So, like, I'm just trying to kind of see into the future a little bit, because,
Sure.
of course, when it comes to something like a house, you want it to stand the test of time.
Right.
So I think it's about understanding the needs and then interpreting that through the design lens.
Right.
But it's not always just about like, hey, I like white couches and you need to have a white couch. And white couches really, and you might like white couches, but you've got 5 kids and that's not.
And they're peanut butter and jelly smeared all over it.
It's not going to be a practical choice for you.
Right.
So we can both agree that white couches look great in a photo, but that's not what we're going to do.
And they also won't stay white if you have 4 children.
Yeah. So it's, there's ebb and flow, but I've been fortunate that I haven't found myself in any real like.
Where it's like, hey, I need this, and you're like, no.
I've been really fortunate. I haven't felt like, oh my God, like my client's making me do this.
Right.
I hate it. And if I feel strongly about something, I will explain my position. And I don't have to do it very often, but I think it's funny. I wish I actually had this confidence in other areas of my life. It's funny because once I had a client, she was a lawyer.
Okay.
And I felt like she actually was going to make the wrong decisions. And so I really presented to her, listen, I really feel it should be this. And these are the reasons why. And she said to me at the end of everything, she was like, oh my goodness, you should have been a lawyer.
Because you presented your case really well.
You just presented that case so well, and I was laughing to myself because being a lawyer is like the last thing I would be at a point good at. I hate conflict.
Right.
I'm like, that is the last thing. So it's funny. Like, I think sometimes where we all have our areas where we have more authority.
Sure.
And design happens to be that space for me.
Right. And then,
I'm not like that in every part of my life.
Yeah, we'll get into that. You mentioned intuition. When do you lean on intuition versus the facts in front of you or the data that's there? Would you say it's 50% of the time? Is it majority of the time?
I don't know how to give you a percentage, but I think it's just like it's very important to use like the power of observation, or also I think especially in design, but maybe other things too, is understanding that. Like, someone might be using words, but you're like, do they really mean the words that they're saying? So, like, in a design conversation, it could be like, I know we're building a ranch, but you keep telling me references about a cottage. And I know that the house that we're building is not a cottage.
Right.
But I know that you haven't been to design school. If this is not your area, that's what I'm here is to interpret. What is she really trying to tell me about wanting this cottage aesthetic in this like modern ranch house we're building? I'm like, okay, I know we're not going to do a cottage here because it's not the right context for this project, but I understand, oh, when she's saying cottage, I get what she means. She wants cozy. She wants this certain color palette that she's associating with that. And so I can sort of like take that word and unpack it, because if I took that literally,
at face value,
we would be going the wrong direction. So, you know, and that takes time and expertise in like one's own lane to be able to realize that someone might be telling you what they want, but like you have to make sure that sometimes people don't have like mastery of those terms correctly. So just, I guess that's where the interpretation skills come in.
Right. Yeah. Someone I used to work for, they would say, listen to what I mean, not what I say. And so, right? It's like, well, how do I know what you mean if that's what you said? So,
right.
But
it takes good listening, or, you know, maybe it also takes time, especially it's very relationship based.
Right.
You know, like you had a comment from them in a different conversation about a different part, but you glean something about their preferences, and so you can think ahead like, oh, I don't think that this is going to work for them based on this, that, or the other. So when I started my fashion company, I did my first runway show and I was 24 years old, and it really came about in such a passion-driven, organic way. Like I had gone to fashion design school because I just loved clothes, and I loved making clothes, and I loved dressing up, and it was just really kind of as simple as that. Like I couldn't find things that I liked, so I needed to figure out how to make them so I could have the things that I wanted, and then from there it just like took kind of a life of its own. Sure. But I think what worked about it at the seed level was just like the authenticity of that. And that really how I grew my brand, like in the very beginning, was just going out and wearing my creations, and I would just meet great people who were like, oh my gosh, like I love your dress. Wow. I'm like, do you want to wear it tomorrow?
Right.
Like, I mean, a lot, that really happened a lot. And so it kind of became this, I didn't plan it. It wasn't a strategy that was on paper. It just sort of happened. Like I was a young girl. It was fun to be in my 20s, out and about. The world was different. This was pre-social media. So like it was a very much in real life world, not like today. So, you know, if you wanted to meet someone or for things to happen, I feel like the only way for that to take place was to be out there. And for me, you know, being in the cities of like Paris and New York, and sometimes I come to LA too, like, you know, you just never would know. Like fast forward, you're trying to grow your brand, then you're taking on overhead, then it's like the seriousness of a business kicks in. Like you have the spark, and then you're lucky enough to actually get momentum and have success, but now you've got to build a structure around it. And like I had to really grow up so fast. So I just could remember by the end, like thinking, you know, I got to build it. It has to be a certain size, and we've got to be a lifestyle brand, and I've got to grow into all these other categories. And by the end, I remember saying to myself, like, you want to have a lifestyle brand and you do not have a life. I was just like chained to my desk, you know, 6-7 days a week, working, 12-hour days, never taking a vacation, never taking time off, never even mentally taking time off. Just always in it. And then I felt like, you know, the inspiration, like those magic moments, they're not happening when you're just chained to your desk. It's not the same. You can't automate the magic. And I felt like that was challenging. And when I had my first child, he turned 1, I sort of had the like coming to Jesus moment with myself, like, you know, this was amazing. I had a great run doing this. I like lived my dream, but it's not the dream anymore. Your dream can evolve. And it took a lot of courage, actually, because if you have something that you know you worked so hard to build, it could be hard to walk away from it. You know, because it's a lot of investment. But if something stops working or working for you, I think it takes a lot of courage, but I see as every year passes, even though that was like painful.
Yeah.
It was painful.
Yeah, when you had to let go of, right,
Yeah.
something amazing
It was pretty hard. And it wasn't like the nature of that business, you can't kind of keep it going.
Right. You're either all in or you're all out.
You're all in or
Yeah.
you're out, because it requires such a machine.
Right.
And it's so time driven that there's no like dabbling.
Right.
Like, what I'm doing now, one could dabble.
Sure.
but not that. So it was just like, it was jarring.
Right.
And it took me a while to even really truly be at peace with it. But it created space for a new life to come forth. Now I
Right.
have 3 children, and I'm able to be very present with them.
Right.
And I'm still able to work and use my mind, use my creativity, which is important to me.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's important to be flexible,
Sure.
I guess, and not be trapped by your illusion of success.
Right. And you mentioned the pain and letting go of something that you've built and grown so large. How do you deal with the identity crisis that I can attest to feeling today, even actively running this company? It's when things are going well, my confidence is here. When things are not, my entire perception of self is in the gutter. Like, I don't feel like I'm worthy. I don't feel that I'm capable. I don't feel that I should be running this company. All those negative thoughts overwhelm you, right? So I can't even imagine like losing all. If I lost this tomorrow, I'd be like, what do I have left? So how do you deal with that? And how did you? Yeah.
It was hard. It was really hard for
Yeah.
me, because of course also my business was very much like my face,
Right.
my name,
Your name, yeah.
very public facing work.
Right.
You know, I was really accustomed to having my runway shows a couple of times a year.
Yeah.
You're always putting like public facing work, and
Sure.
you're feeling like your work is in a public facing dialogue.
Yep.
So to just go quiet, I felt like I ceased to exist.
Right, like where did Erin go? She just disappeared. Yeah.
It was really hard for me, especially coupled with being a new mom, where
Right.
you're really home a lot. So having shifted from a very externalized existence,
Right.
where you're in a constant feedback loop, good or bad,
Yeah.
because you do a show, you can have great reviews, you could get a bad review, that doesn't feel good either.
Right.
But like, you're in this sort of constant externalized feedback loop that is validating at least your existence.
Right.
When I step back from that, if I was just like home with a nonverbal toddler, I was like, oh my God.
What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, but I think that, I think for myself personally, in my own growth journey, I think that probably was a divinely orchestrated step, and it's something I still grapple with too.
Right.
Of, I do exist. I do continue to exist, even if there's no external reflection of
Right.
that. And learning how to go within and really building your connection to the creator, to the divine, to yourself.
Totally.
And I think it's a lifelong work.
Yeah. So what excites you? Like when you look at your life today, what are you driven by primarily, aside from your kids, of course? But
Well, so many things, honestly, because I love to learn, and that could be learning about spirituality, that could be learning about my trade, my craft, getting better, just like I enjoy life experience,
Right.
and just feeling like there's always momentum and we're always getting more information, getting wiser. So I think like being just a student of life is very exciting
Sure.
to me. And even learning through my children, it's not just about them, but I feel like I just learned so much about the human experience
right.
as a mom, and just seeing how like these little children come in and they're all so different, and they're really like born with their personality, and then you get to observe them like, and then they're friends, and then they have a whole little world, and you just see like the dynamics and how they are who they are, and
Right.
and that there's so many ways of being. I think like that's something I learn a lot in this observational role as a mom, going through like the school process, not this time as a kid, as a student,
Right.
where you're very much looking through like your own experience,
Right.
like looking a little bit more as an observer, seeing my
Yeah.
children go through that experience. I'm like, oh my gosh, like things that used to bother me as a kid, or like, you know, that disruptive boy in the class that was so menacing. I'm like, now as a mom, I'm like, oh, he's just dysregulated.
Exactly.
You know, like,
that's all it is.
He just has ADHD.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
you just get
A
like
different
so much
perspective.
more
Yeah.
context, and then just understanding like, oh well, like some people just, it's funny, like I used to be very annoyed by people chewing gum loudly. It was like a pet peeve of mine. Now that I see so many kids, I'm like, oh, some people really need to chew gum.
Right,
They
just to
need
stay-
to chew gum
yeah.
because the act of the chewing helps them focus their
Right.
mind. So, you know, I used to just think I was like bad.
Just an annoying kid, yeah, or just,
And
yeah.
now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much more like compassion and understanding, and then the being annoyed by it goes away.
Right.
So I just think like being a student of life is very exciting.
I love that. With all the chaos that's going on in the world, and it's like almost, especially you mentioned with social media, and it's right in front of you whether you want to see it or not. How do you balance your own internal energy in spite of all these fears and just things coming up? And then when you're talking to others too, that maybe also have like a very intense energy, how are you able to protect and control yours?
That's a great question. Well, one, I think you have to actually be able to put the phone down. You know, like they say, I think like there's an anthropological point of view that like humans were really only designed to be in villages of about 150 people. Or
Really?
that's like that's how we're wired.
Okay.
Sort of like a capacity of knowing about 150 people and like knowing what's happening in our village. And like we're not designed to know about
The person across
every single
individual
conflict and individual, and it's like it's so overwhelming. Like I'm very empathic, and I could get very overwhelmed by the news, and I know when it's happening to me because I can feel it in my body. Like I can feel the tension and all of this, and sometimes I just have to say, well, me feeling like that isn't going to help anybody. So taking a breath, like putting arms length away, and I think sometimes it is good to just really focus on those 150 of the village around you, because I think like the butterfly effect, like things do sort of resonate out into the world. So I think it's important to be realistic about where you can have impact. Right? It's like if I'm so busy looking on Instagram about like horrendous occurrences in the world, but I'm not attending to my children, who they don't know about that. They just want a mom who's engaged with them. Like the quantum effect of me being present and modeling emotional regulation and showing them that they're a priority to me, like not my screen, because they don't know what the important story is that just happened. And they can carry that out, and it carries out. So I think you just have to kind of course, remain aware, but take responsibility for what's closest to you.
In lieu of finishing with something external for the world, what is your hope, both for your children, but for the world as a whole in 20, 30, 40 years as you look into the future? Where would you like to see the world?
I think the world is just operating under such a mega illusion of being divided. You're you, I'm me, we're on this team, you're on that team. Our teams can never come together. And I think that if this illusion could lift and we could all really actually see each other as brothers and sisters. I mean, I feel like cheesy saying that, but I just think like the number one thing that's needed in the world is a sense of unity and understanding like we're part of a collective one, and there needs to be like a massive perspective shift.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Erin. Always a pleasure. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be back.